Welcome back to the Enlightened Misfits podcast. I am your host, Lauren, and in today's episode, I have an amazing guest. I actually currently have never met her in person, but I feel like I've known her forever. This is Sarah. She is a spiritual intuitive guide. Welcome, Sarah. I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. So, what inspired you to create the Cosmetic Connections Facebook group, and how did your journey lead you to, this intersection of spirituality, self-development, and then creating this community?
Well, it all stemmed, I guess, from the beginning of like my spiritual awakening journey.
Okay.
Throughout that, I ended up obviously like being led, I like to say,
Yeah.
um, to just start a group that I wanted a lot of people that were on the same energy as me. That's what I was looking for at that time. People who wanted to develop, work on themselves, and really connect and create something new. So that was the start of it, and now we're here.
Awesome. I mean, I love that community. It's like these, it's mostly Delaware, right? Delaware, PA,
Yes, yeah,
New Jersey. Yeah.
yeah.
And
For
I'll make
right now,
sure.
but in the future, I see big things.
Yeah, no, awesome. I do, I love that community, and you do a very good job of leading that community. I can say that. I can be a testimony of
Thank
that.
you so much.
I'll make sure people listening to this that they're like, wait a second, I'm in the surrounding. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be in the surrounding areas, but I know that Sarah does, meetups, and she's like, planning all this stuff. I'm not going to give it away, but she's planning all this stuff that, if you're in the surrounding areas, it would be beneficial to you. So
Yes,
I'll
100.
make sure that that link to that group is in
Thank
the
you.
description or show notes, and then YouTube. So awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit about your own personal journey, like where, you started, what the spiritual awakening, like the highlights, like the pivotal moments, the face, maybe if you would like to talk about, that darkness you faced.
Yes, I was just about to say that. I think the beginning of any like major spiritual awakening tends to be a low point in your life. And that was my experience. I was going through, depression, things like that. And my energy was just very depleted. I was feeling lost in the world, and I was searching for like answers about myself because I was feeling like I didn't know who I was at that time. Um, and then it led me really to plant medicines, and that's what took me up and away, which was mushrooms. That was the start of my spiritual awakening. And ever since then, it's been history and a great time.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about like where you came from, like your childhood? Like, did you grow up like I? I'll let you say. I know some of your story, so I want to kind of hear some of your story. Like, where are you from? The U.S.? Did you grow up here? Like, what? Well, I want to hear all that.
Yeah. So originally, no, I'm not from the US. My parents are from Egypt. So I grew up with you know, a very strict Middle Eastern background, which was super religious as well. And I think that was part of my spiritual journey too, was figuring out if that aligned to me or not, and figuring out really my own like faith within the universe. So my background really was from Islam and very strict guidelines on life and what I
Right.
should do and what should I follow. And truly, like now that I look back, that was never aligned in my core. It was never aligned. And I think if you go with that, like that questioning part of you in life, you'll end up finding your own path. And that was my case, which I'm glad I did.
Awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So the reason why I asked that was because I feel like a lot of people right now are in this place of I need to find my life purpose, right? Or I feel like I need true fulfillment. And when I ask people what that looks like for them, they don't know, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I actually in our tarot card, group that I have, the reading I just did, I literally just did it before we jumped on this recording, but um the it was about going home to yourself. And I feel like a lot of people, like you said, you can't you don't know who you are unless you sit with yourself, right? Like you actually stop blaming the world around you, stop blaming all of your trauma, right? Stop blaming everything and actually start not blaming your trauma on yourself, but start pointing fingers at yourself of what you need to change, right? So
Yeah.
I love that. And I know in your group you do a lot, and I'm sure with your clients you do a lot of that, like shadow work. So can you tell us a little bit about what shadow work means to you or what you do with your clients?
Yeah, just like you said, really sitting with yourself. Like I love to tell my clients, you have to have a meeting with yourself. You meet every day with other people. You have things on your schedule all the time, but you never really sit with your own self, which is crazy. You need to put that on your schedule, write it out. Like I have a meeting with myself at 10 a.m. Like and sit and just talk to yourself, talk to the energies around you. If you are religious, talk to God, talk to source. You just have to connect to things around you and to yourself. And the more you do it, the answers just come and they just flow because you get rid of like so many things that's taking space in your brain when you take a minute to really just gather your energy and sit and think things through if you have to. But it tends to like shed things that are just like clouding you. If you
Right,
don't like take the time and sit, then you won't have space for the answers that you're seeking in life to come.
right. Yes. Now, would you say that, shadow work, it plays a huge role in your own personal journey and transformation? Like, do you think people have a negative connotation on shadow work? Would you agree with this, or do you feel like it has helped you and played?
Oh, I totally agree that people tend to think of like shadow work as like bad, or like negative, like a lower energy. But to me, actually, that's what I enjoy the most. Like things that are in your shadow, things that you tend to hide behind, things that are like lurking, that are there, but you're not noticing them. That's what I love the most. And that's what I found my like energy tends to go towards, which is things like in the shadow. Just like when I practice witchcraft as well. And that tends to be my connection. Things that are tend to be heavy. But I think those are the most powerful things that you could transmute into other energies and use it.
Yes. Yeah. I personally always loved shadow work too. So I'm kind of like that because I'm not somebody that the believer. I know that some of the in the spiritual community, some people are like, oh, you have to like, it's this whole thing of like you have to get rid of the shadow. You like
Oh,
you have to just let go of all of it. And I'm like, but that's letting go of half of yourself. Like
yeah,
that's where
exactly.
yeah, like that's where you feel like, okay, so like it's kind of like when if anybody has ever done the EFT or the EMDR, not the EFT, the EMDR, and it's like they clear out, they work with somebody, they process it, but the second part to that is now putting that compassion, putting those new beliefs, putting those like that new system to kind of run that, you cleared out you cleared out this, old kind of timeline or old neural pathway or whatever it is in your brain. And then, you have to replace it with something. And I feel like most people, they don't do that step. And then it kind of goes back on, okay, so like it doesn't work. Like people are like,
Yeah.
oh, it doesn't work, but it does work. You just have to do both parts. And it's like, or it could be if if you do Reiki or, whatever it is that you do, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you put that compassion and love back into it. And I feel like that part in that piece is never told to people because people think, oh, I can just do this one session and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But it's not. Like so many people I've talked to, even some of my own clients, like a couple of them are, mental health therapists, and they know that this is what they do, and but that doesn't mean that they also don't need help themselves,
Mhm.
so it's like that's where I come in, and most of it is quantum healing, but that's where I come in to help them. Okay, so this is like a new belief, this is what we're going to clear out, this is a past life, this is a Akashic record, something like that, that they realize, oh, okay, so I can change that now, and they have the ability to do that because they do that with their clients. So I think that that's really important for people to know when they're doing shadow work. A lot of people, you can do shadow work by yourself, right? But I feel like it is really, really, it's very transformative if you work with a coach, you work with, a healer, you can work with Sarah, like you can to do that because you have somebody that has went through it, a similar experience, maybe not the same thing, but it's a similar experience and can help guide you quicker. And instead of you in this place of like, okay, I've been doing this for 2 years and it's not working, like what can change, right?
Yes, I totally agree with you. I think it's two things that's really important is community, like having people around you that aid you on your journey of life, um, and being interconnected with people around you. Um,
Yes.
and also back to the shadow work, it's really rewiring, like your brain, your beliefs, everything that you've learned, and clearly it wasn't serving you at that time. So now you're trying to change it. But it just gets easier. Usually people struggle with it when they, like you said, tend to believe in like the lighter work of it.
Right.
And they don't tap into the shadow, um, to and start rewiring that. And to me, like I said, I think of everything as energy and I transmute it. And I find the shadow to be really strong. The energy that is through your shadow is really enormous if you really know how to work with it and can push you to do great things in life and live your highest potential.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I actually just started. Some people know this, but most people don't. I think if they've listened to the podcast, they know. But I just started. I guess it's been 5 or 6 weeks. I'm doing a shamanic journey, and I feel like that is probably the hardest. I don't know. It's the hardest thing I feel like I've done in my life. I feel like I done hard things, but going through this journey, you're going through the chamber of wounds, you're going through the chamber of contracts, you're going to look at your shadow. And
Yes.
I did this for myself because I feel like I got to a point that I've worked with healers, mentors, quantum healers. And I'm just like, I feel like, and most of the time when you work with people, they're able to see your shadow and the things that you don't want to see, right?
Yeah.
So they help you kind of see, no, this is what's really happening and this is how we can change it. And I've noticed that for one, your throat chakra is the where all of the wisdom lies. So if you're not speaking your truth or you're not speaking from or you're speaking from like a wounded part or a shadow part of yourself, you're not really speaking your truth. And you won't really know that until you kind of like, work with somebody or work with a healer or work with somebody that can kind of say, hey, this is the shadow part. And I always, like you, believe that the shadow has, huge wisdom to share with you. It's not
Yeah.
bad. I feel like
No,
it
it's not.
has, yeah, it has a lot of wisdom to share. And
Yeah.
I just learned that, recently because I was like, oh, wow, my throat chakra, I'm constantly working on my throat chakra, I feel like. And I'm like, and I feel like a lot of my clients lately have been constantly working on their throat chakra. And a lot of it is because, they might tell me that they do the shadow work, but I'm like, I don't know if I don't know if that is, are you really doing it this way? So then I give them another tool to do it this way. And they're like, wow, I'm not. Like, it's actually like to actually be able to like kind of sit with their shadow, figure out really what's going on. I feel like that is huge, because I do that. Or like mirror work. That's another technique. I don't know if you wanted to share with somebody like a listener that have maybe just started, maybe this is their first day that they're listening, like, okay, I'm going to try to listen to, spiritual, I'm trying to go down this journey. What would something that you would recommend them to do, like, if they don't know where to start?
Um, I have an answer to that, but I know you mentioned the mirror work.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that's one of the greatest things you could do
Yeah.
is really mirror yourself back. And to me, that was one of the biggest things that made me feel so confident in myself
Yeah.
and tap into that like really wisdom and power that I have. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah. I know. I've done mirror work was probably the first thing that I started when I was doing it. Because people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you inspire me so much." Which is great. And I'm like, that's what I feel like my purpose is to kind of, I to show people what I've shown, like what I was shown, and then help them along the way because I feel like we could do a lot, but as a community, like you said, we can change timelines. We can change a lot as a collective. And I always say that I always say if I didn't go first, or if other people didn't go first, I wouldn't be able to be who I am. So like I wouldn't be on this podcast, I wouldn't be on camera, I wouldn't be like, I can stare at myself, or I can look at myself, and I can constantly not try to hide. Or I try to encourage my when people say, "Oh, I want to get on, a call with you," I try to encourage them to get on camera,
Oh
because
yes.
not that I need to see them, because I know their energy, I can feel their energy, I can read their energy, but I want them to be able to look at themselves confidently and talk. And it's not that I'm forcing people to get on camera, but a couple times they won't get on camera, but
Hmm.
eventually they'll start turning their camera on, and I won't say anything at first because I don't want them to be like, "Oh, I'm turning my camera off next time. She noticed," or whatever. But I feel like that's huge, because a lot of people don't want to do video. A lot of people don't want to be on camera, and it's because they think that they can hide behind that.
Yes.
Normally when you're working with a healer, you can't, because they just know. But
Yeah.
they
We
can
pick
feel
up
your
on it.
energy. Yeah, like I don't need your face. I love to look at your face, but I don't need your face. So I love that, because I feel like that could give somebody, if they want to start telling their story, or they just want to start somewhere, it could be like recording yourself doing stuff, looking at yourself in the mirror. I feel like that's
Yes, I agree 100%. Again, recording yourself too. Like when I'm trying to practice with something, I turn my camera on and nobody's even gonna see it. Doesn't
yeah,
even have to record, but it just another like energy exchange within myself. That's how I
yeah,
relate it. And it totally helps. It's like again meeting with yourself. Like I always tell them, turn it on, look at the mirror, and meet with yourself and talk to yourself that way. And I think a lot of, at least my clients, my experience, they put a lot of stress on what that should like look like.
yeah,
And they need to have some sort of like outline, even when they journal, things like that. And a lot of the times that I tell them is just flow. All you have to do is flow. Like if you don't have a thought, you don't have a thought. Another one will come right away. You don't need to like put expectations or any of that. That's gonna stress you out more. And the whole point for me with my clients is I always bring them back to themselves in a state of flow. We don't want to add anything that's gonna stress your life even more.
right,
So yeah,
yeah,
a lot of them struggle with that, just having so much expectations
yeah,
and thinking that they're going to fail when there is no expectations and there's no failure or anything at all. You just have to let it out.
right. Yeah. I was gonna say, I love that you say expectations, because I feel like, us as moms, or, or dads, whoever's listening, or, just in general, if you have a 9 to 5 job and you have kids, and you are a wife, or you or a husband, or whatever, or even just a single mom, there's so much expectations from like society on, like, I have to do it this way, or I have to do it that way. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things of when I came like across human design, because I was like, I'm not built that way. I've always felt like I was built different than everybody. And I feel like everybody is built, well, I should say not just me, but a lot of people in the world are built differently, and or we're all just built unique, because, you know, that's just how it is. Like that's what makes the world go round, right? So it's like I had to figure out why I always felt that way, and I found out, oh, okay, so human design, it's literally how the energy works. We're all energy. So I need to figure out how I can work with my own energy and help other people do that too. So, yeah.
Yes, I totally agree. Um, Also, my personal journey was really tapping into my feminine energy because I was running on a man's, biological clock all the time. And that made me feel like I was just wired wrong or something, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, And that was part of the journey of really getting in tune with my energy, with who I really am, and being okay with my flow of energy. Every day might look different, and I'm okay with it. Um, I don't need to live up to another person's expectations of anything in life. And that's what I try to remind all my clients. It's your life.
Right.
You don't
Yes.
need to set any other rules. You don't need to do anything that doesn't really feel good and fill your cup. If it doesn't feel good, then it's not aligned, and there's another path for you.
Right. Yes, I love that. Especially because I think a lot of stay-at-home moms or, moms that have, they don't like they, use they rely on their husband's income. Like it makes me sad. I actually seen a post this morning in one of the mom groups. I think it was like the mom squad or something. And she was talking about, her husband was saying you have to go by my rules. It's my money. You can't have any of it. But then she's taking care of the kids. And for me, I I don't know how I feel about that because I've always been the one, in when I was married, I was the one that was the breadwinner. I was the one that was constantly working, but I also took care of my daughter,
Mhm.
for a short time. I was in that marriage so short time that I was like, gosh, I could never imagine. I always wanted to be a mom. I love being a mom, and I do want more kids one day, but I was like, I can't imagine my like a husband or my partner or whoever telling me that I need to stay home and it's his money. Like, what are you working for then? Like yourself? Like, I don't, what are you working for? Like, or
Yeah.
why are you even here? Like, and I know where that comes from when it's like you scared to leave and, I can't, I have no income. And it's like, I always want to tell people, especially I don't know why I'm talking about this. It must need to be said, but I feel like there's so much help out there. Like with the state, there's shelters there, especially like a huge domestic violence advocate that I am. You can call Child's Inc. There's so much help that you feel like you can't do it, but you can. You just have to, for one, don't leave without a plan.
Mhm.
Granted, like, before I left, I had a plan, but I also was financially stable to leave. Like I could leave because, you know, I had that. I was very grateful to have an amazing job that I could have now, not, and I had a supportive family. Most people don't have family, right? Like most people don't have that. And it just felt like I needed to say this today because it was like, I wish I could do more for people like that. I wish I could do, help them kind of get out of that. And but I feel like even in the moms groups, there's so much more support. Like, cause there used to be a couple of years ago, there used to be so much hate. And I'm like, why is there so much hate in these mom groups? Like, why is everybody bashing everybody? We're all moms,
Yeah.
regardless of, where you come from. It's just a reflection. If you're a mom, I'm a mom, right? Like if even if you're not a mom, like I feel like women in general, like we all should just support each other and maybe there wouldn't be so much abusive guys because the guys are going to be like, well, where are we going to go, unless you're going to go to another dude, that which is fine too, but like they didn't have that option.
Yeah.
And I felt so, my heart went out to her this morning because I felt so bad that she was in that situation and felt like, I have two kids under the age of 7 and I don't know where to go, like where to go because my husband is telling me, it's his money, like abide by his, like who would, I can't, I shouldn't get, I'm not going to get on that like rabbit hole, but I'm like, who the hell does he think he is to say that? Like, I don't even, what man in this entire universe thinks he has a right to say that? Like, that's just my opinion about it. Anyway,
Yeah.
I know that you see that in the moms groups too, but I
Yeah.
felt like anybody listening, or if the person that is in that moms group is listening, there's help. Like you can even reach out to me. Like I will get you help. I'm connected with tons of people in the domestic violence because emotional abuse is abuse. And the courts, believe it or not,
Yeah.
they will honor emotional abuse now. They never used to. But I think with my case, I had a huge case in, court, family court a couple of years ago. And I made sure, and I say the same thing, like I help some of the domestic, like I always give back to the domestic violence community. And I said that, my platform eventually will be about, survivors and domestic violence. And, I said emotional abuse is abuse. Like it needs to be recognized in court. Like I don't care something needs to change. And I feel like now more than ever, the judges are actually looking at that. Like, is this person being emotionally abused? Or the kids too, because same thing with, kids. They don't look at emotional abuse as abuse, but now they are. I feel like it's getting there, but they are starting to look at that, which is amazing for them. So I'm proud of them.
I definitely, whenever I see posts like that, it breaks my heart, but it reminds me of how important self-love is.
Yeah.
When you don't have that and that core is missing within you, that's what you need to work on every single day. And in situations like that, the more you do it, the more the answers will come to you. Like, you'll get strong, she'll be able to leave, make a plan. But from my experience, I saw my mother go through that. So, and she got out of it. So I
Mhm.
know it's possible. I've seen it firsthand, and I always just try to remind them to not lose that vision that you could be exactly where you want to be in life, and to believe in that, believe in yourself, believe in that you have what it takes to handle anything in life. And that's really back to self-love. If you don't have that, then you don't have the confidence, you don't feel like connected to source, you don't feel like you could download answers all the time and really trust in your path that it will reveal itself. And it just, yeah, it breaks my heart to see women go through that. But it's not the end. It's never the end. It's the beginning of where the rest of your amazing life will be and unfold. Just like when me with my spiritual awakening, I went through a hard time and came out of it. So if I could do it, everybody could do it, just like you could do it and you did it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the end, and there's hope every single day, and there's opportunities. You just have to be okay with seeking help. A lot of women feel bad about seeking help, feel guilty, especially when it comes to kids, not wanting to break up the family.
Mhm.
But sometimes we forget that that energy in that house is affecting them way more than you guys are being separated, and way more than the hardship that she will go through as a single mother. It will be way easier and way better on them to see her make it through than to see her be in a place that is eating at her soul for the rest of her life. Life is too short. Life
Yeah.
is too short to waste it and not be good every single day within yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I was going to say the only other thing I was going to say about that is when you said about self love, obviously, like you said, that takes time and I'm actually going to start take I'm going to take that when you're like meeting with yourself. Like, that is actually good. Like, I personally forget to have a meeting with myself daily. I mean, maybe I don't call it that, but I always sit with myself in some type of, like, if it's meditation or if it's just like how I ask myself, like, how am I feeling? Oh, we're feeling shitty today. Okay. Like, sometimes you can feel shitty. Like, you're allowed to have a bad day. Just make sure it's not a bad week or a month. Like,
Yeah.
you have a bad day, have a bad day. If you don't feel good, honor and accept that. And that's where I have started using EFT tapping for that, because I've noticed that even if I have a bad day or I don't feel good, like this past, weekend, I still loved and accept myself completely. And that's all that matters. I feel like if anybody doesn't take anything from this conversation of what we talked about, hopefully you take a lot, but if you don't, you need to have a meeting with yourself and then figure out a tool that you can use. There's tons of them. If it's meditation, great. If it's EFT tapping, there's tons of videos on how to do that. You do not need to go get certified to be one. You could just go on YouTube and you could just learn how to, and just have a phrase that you say to yourself. I usually say, even though, and if I'm feeling shitty or if I have anxiety or, whatever is going on in my life currently at that moment, I usually say, even though I have anxiety, still love myself completely and wholly. Like, whatever it is, like, whatever statement that is, because I feel like that truly helps a lot. At least for me and my clients. I don't know if you have like a tip that you want to share with everybody or advice that you could give somebody if they're beginning their journey,
Yes,
or
thinking
seeking
of
guidance on where to
like
start.
tools with my clients, I always tell them, I will not solve your problems for you. That is not what I'm doing. I'm not a magical tool to like snap my fingers and give you an answer to an issue that you have. My way of helping you is for you to cultivate a tool box throughout this journey where we come together and figure out what works for you that helps you every single day become better. Every single day pour into you. Every single day when you're having a bad emotion, like you said, don't don't try to like bottle it up. Again, back in the flow. Ups and downs throughout life. Any emotion is valid and you need to sit with it. If one day I'm having a bad day, that's the point. This meant for me to have a bad day that day. Literally. Just sit
Right.
with it. Have the bad day. It's okay. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel like less than. Don't feel like a failure. Like, no. I always say to myself, every single day is a learning lesson for me to push me forward to my highest being.
Right.
Every emotion I feel is a lesson for me to evolve. So just like you said, meet with yourself, sit with yourself, and cultivate a toolbox, a toolkit for yourself to, when you feel out of balance, take one out and test it out and see if it works for you. Something creative. You always need something creative in your toolbox. That's one tip.
Yeah.
Have something that taps into creativity and allows you to flow. For me, it's painting. I love to paint, and that gets my creative energy going. And usually it makes my day way better. And then I find myself within 3 days, I have something, new answers that I was seeking, new creative ideas that I could put out into the world, whatever like I needed ends up like coming through because I allowed creativity and I made space for it to enter. And you have to just allow like space for you to receive. That's the most important thing. Sit back and let the universe work in your favor because you're divinely connected, whether you realize it or not.
Yes. Yeah. I always tell people um, that people are like, oh, I can't be like you. I'm like, yes, you can. Everybody's important. Every single person in this entire universe, regardless of whatever your parents told you, whatever, whoever told you, we're all connected. You don't
Yes.
just plop, you don't just fall down on earth. Expect, some of us might felt like we did, but everybody decided to come here. You
Yes.
all decided to have this life. You all decide, we all have lessons. We all have karmic stuff. We all have, there's a reason why we came to earth. If it's, you have a different mission than everybody else or whatever, we all came here, and it's like, you all just like, and it's, when I say that, when people are like, I didn't decide to come here, like, I want to go back home. And it's just like, no, you decided to come here, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
nobody forced you to
100%.
come here.
You
I know.
decided. Uh, I mean, at the end of the day, it's one energy, which is the universe, and the universe is experiencing itself. So there's no mistakes. Why would the universe make a mistake, really?
Yeah,
Like, does
there
that make
isn't.
no? That doesn't make sense. The
No mistake,
powerful
no
universe
mistakes by the universe. Yeah.
makes no mistakes and is here to experience itself, which makes every single movement of your life purposeful and meaningful. Whether you sit with that and let it work in your favor or you discard it, that's up to you and the journey that you take in life.
Right. Yes. Well, thank you so much for I there's a lot of golden nuggets that I had got from this
Thank you.
episode, and I hope everybody else did. So, thank you for joining us on today's episode with Sarah and the Enlightened Misfits podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave a review and then share this with anybody that you feel that would gain knowledge from listening. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations in the future. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time.